3 months ago, I've bought an FC RX-7, one of my absolute dream cars. But there was a catch. It hasn't been registered for over 14 years. It was a real barn find, which meant I had a lot of work ahead of me before I could even drive it. In those 3 months, I've tried so hard to get this thing ready as fast as possible. And today, it's payday. I'm back. After returning from my South Korea trip, which by the way was insane, I've decided to immediately book an appointment for the RX-7's main inspection. This inspection is vital to get this thing road legal and to finally be able to drive it. Now, the only issue with that is that the appointment is actually in a couple of days. And the much bigger issue is that the car is not even close to being done. Install the brakes, time the ignition, do an oil change, install the catalytic converter, calibrate the TPS, and much more. So I would say, let's not get hung up with all of these things that we need to do for too long, because after that, it is time for the main inspection. Now, the first thing that I want to be doing is actually fix a coolant leak, because when I started the engine for the first time, I noticed that there is a big leak from the thermostat housing. Of course, the RTV can is completely perished. Completely perished. Dude. Okay, definitely not my cleanest work. So I'm gonna let that sit for 24 hours and then I'm gonna tighten it all the way to get a proper seal, hopefully. Next, I will calibrate the TPS, which sits under the stock intercooler. How to calibrate a TPS. The TPS monitors the throttle position, and it not being properly calibrated can lead to all sorts of issues, including a bouncing idle, which I'm experiencing. Okay, so the manual I just saw on the internet actually says I just need to turn the ignition to the on position. I don't even need to turn on the ignition, so that should be enough. Simply set your whatever this is called to 20 kilo ohms, put the black solenoid to the black pin and the red solenoid to the green pin. That should read 1 kilo ohm. It actually reads 3 kilo ohm. Okay, so we've successfully calibrated it to exactly 1 kilo ohm. Now I'm just gonna turn the throttle all the way up to... Now I'm just gonna... Okay, it goes up, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. Oh well. Okay, so apparently our TPS is actually malfunctioning because once I reach wide open throttle, it actually just goes all the way up to infinity, which is not supposed to happen. That could cause some high RPM issues, but I'm gonna have to test that out once I'm actually driving the car. For now, it seems like it's calibrated, which is a good sign. Next, I want to take care of the brakes. This involves replacing the front and rear rotors and pads, as well as rebuilding the rear caliper.
What are you doing? Oh, okay. Oh, damn.
And once again, the front rotors are not coming off, which is why I want to take care of the rear ones first. I'm installing brand new ones, and on top of that, I'm going for braided steel brake lines. I'm doing all of that while my dad is rebuilding the rear calipers, as they were completely seized, just like the front ones. And because now I need to wait for the fresh calipers, I've decided to take care of one more thing in the meantime, the coolant leak. Now that the RTV is fully dried, I can tighten the bolts all the way to hopefully create a watertight seal. Finally, no more coolant leaks. And just at the right time, my dad finished off the calipers, which means I can finish the rear brakes now. Okay, I know I've tried it 100 times already, but now I really need to take care of the front brakes. Okay, that was actually way too dramatic and much easier than I thought.
Sind Sie bereit?
Nein. Now, having brand new brakes is good and all, but they stay pretty much useless until they are fully bled. So my buddy Raman and I took care of it while talking some absolute smack in the meantime.
Oh Mann, Alter! Okay, drück mal dreimal. Drück mal dreimal. Der Jesus, komm, wir werden so die Bremsen versagen.
Don't listen to him, guys. Don't listen to him. He's doing it properly.
Mann! Ich hasse Teflon-Tape.
Mann, du. Bist du blöd oder so?
Landruf? Lena Meyer Landruf, Junge, was für Landruf?
Er hat immer Landruf verstanden. Landruf.
Den Lena Meyer Landruf, Alter.
Was soll ich das denn wissen, Alter?
Ja, what the fuck, Hauptsache mitsingen, aber die Lyrics nicht kennen, Dummkopf.
Hey Mann,
Das war gut.
Dragon Ball nicht geschaut, deswegen war nicht so witzig.
Das ist ja jetzt eine Lüge, oder?
Nein, ich hab's nicht geschaut.
Ist das dein Ernst?
Ja, ich hab's nicht geschaut.
Ja, gut, dass du so einen Knacks hast, Alter. Du fängst keinen einzigen anderen Anime an, wenn du nicht Dragon Ball geschaut hast.
Na, hä?
Dragon Ball ist immer der Einstieg. Jedes Kind hat immer mit Dragon Ball angefangen. Immer.
Aussage macht so null Sinn.
Doch.
Nein.
Tu das.
And of course, I can't bring the RX-7 to its main inspection without taking care of small things as well. Filling up the windshield washer fluid is a prime example of that. It's such a simple thing, but without it, I can say goodbye to the inspection. Guys, it is the next day, and this means that it's actually the home stretch. There are still a couple of things left that we need to do, but nothing major, which means that, well, let's finish this. I cannot wait to drive the RX-7 finally. And this is where this video went horribly wrong. Okay guys, it is very early in the morning. And there's actually one more thing that we need to do before I can drive this baby to the main inspection. And that will be test out if the brakes are bled. I'm gonna tell you why we need to test that out again in a minute. Also, I want to take it for a quick test drive just to see if everything works or if there are any problems that I still need to fix before we go to the main inspection. There's literally 30 minutes left before the main inspection starts, so we really need to hurry right now. So I'd say, let's take this thing for its first, I guess, maiden voyage. Let's go. Now you could say that this is arguably the most important part of the video, and I gotta tell you, it hasn't been recorded. In fact, there are only 2 little snips of footage, and I'm gonna show them to you right now. One of them is this. Yeah, that was literally it. Now in the second little piece of footage you could actually hear the RX-7 roaring in the distance, and I'm gonna show that to you right now. And even though it's hard to beat, this was not even the worst part of the video. Do you remember when I tried to calibrate the TPS, the throttle position sensor? Well, as I said previously... Okay, so apparently our TPS is actually malfunctioning. That could cause some high RPM issues, but I'm gonna have to test that out once I'm actually driving the car. And I knew that with the throttle position sensor not being properly calibrated or actually being malfunctioning, the car wouldn't run great. However, I did not expect the car to run that bad. I took the RX-7 for its first maiden voyage, which was awesome. However, there were a few problems. First problem being that when you saw me bleed the brakes with my buddy Raman, this was the first time I bled the brakes. After that, I actually bled the brakes for 3 more times, because as soon as I started the car and the brake booster actually started working, the car just completely lost all of the brake pressure. Then I bled it again with my dad yesterday, and after that I was pretty confident. I didn't test it out because it was already nighttime and I didn't want to wake up the neighbors by starting up the FC. However, just a few minutes ago when I took it for its first test drive around the block, it didn't work. Nothing worked. I didn't have any brake whatsoever. The car was just running so rich. Thankfully, I have this handy dandy little AFR gauge down there, so I could actually monitor how rich or how lean the car is running. I could tell that the car is running very, very rich. Even when idling, it was around like 9.0 or something, which is crazy rich for idling. It should be actually around like 13.5 while idling. So that explains a lot. But the root of the problem still remains unsolved, which would be the TPS, the throttle position sensor. I will have to get a new one. And guys, long story short, I couldn't make it to the main inspection. The brakes were too mushy, there was still air in the lines. The car didn't even run properly. I tried it in different ways, like with a little less throttle, with a little more throttle, and in both cases the car was just like woo, bogging crazily, which is a giant failure for, well, today's video. But, and this is the most important thing, I think it's actually good that the car didn't run and we couldn't make it to the main inspection. Let me tell you why. Now, as I told you in the beginning of the video, I did not have much time to finish off the car. And to be brutally honest with you, I'm not even sure if this thing would have passed the main inspection because, well, wipers didn't work, this turn signal didn't work. Oh, also the license plate illumination did not work. And the brakes, well, they also didn't work properly. Now, I could be in a very bad mood now and I could cry about like, oh, I didn't make it to the main inspection. However, this gives me the excellent opportunity to finally take my time to get this thing absolutely perfect for the main inspection, fix all of the problems, so there's no risk at all that this thing will fail. Because, guys, we are so close to finally driving this thing, and I'm very, very excited.